Sweet Pea.
Hi, Move Bear.
Are you in the Christmas spirit?
I am now, definitely am now. But I really wasn't. I think it's just because of revision and exams. I was really, the last thing I was thinking about was Christmas. Other than having an advent calendar, I had forgotten that it was Christmas time. And so it was really lovely because obviously I've now done my exams.
Yay!
Which is, oh my God, the best thing in the world ever.
Yeah, the freedom you must feel now.
Absolute freedom.
Not for long, but enjoy it whilst it lasts.
Yeah, for the few weeks it lasts and then back to the same old slog. But the exams went all right, luckily. The second day was hard because I slept so badly the second night. Not my fault. I went to bed at a correct time. I ate good things so that it was just kind of a nice normal routine. I didn't try to kind of mix things up, you know. Mm-hmm. I just was going to do a nice routine. I had a really nice warm shower just to get me all kind of
toasty
for bed, and I was so anxious. So unfortunately the second day didn't go as well, but fingers crossed for end of January when I get my results. So
the thing that blew my mind was when you sent me a video of just a really brief, I think 2-3 second video panning around from your seat in the exam hall. What was it, 1,600 kids in one room?
Yes.
Like in an aircraft hangar, wasn't it?
Yes, it was actually. And I had to drive to this place, which was only half an hour away, but the traffic was so awful at 6 o'clock in the morning that it took me
an hour
and a half or
oh, God.
Whatever. It was awful. But because it was in alphabetical order, I was sat near the back and I just was looking at 1,600 kids in front of me, thinking, how am I meant to be in the top 100 of these guys?
Yeah.
It was just so scary. And to be honest, the second day, once we'd finished our exams, we all had to sit down and we had to wait for 5 minutes whilst they made sure that they'd got every single paper from everyone and put them away in these kind of envelopes. And I was just sitting there and everyone was looking around excitedly at everyone. And then when they said we could go, everyone was like, charged, so happy and stuff. And I was just like deadpan and I just walked out as quickly as possible. I just wanted to get out. I was knackered at that point. I didn't have energy to give for yay.
Was there a stampede for the door? Or
a stampede for the door, but I got out quickly so I could just come home.
That's my girl. You're mother's daughter, aren't you?
And then just coming home was really nice because I walked through the door and I was really, really knackered, and I had been listening to Christmas songs on the way back, trying to get into the Christmas spirit of things, and it just wasn't working. And then I came in the door and I was met with this beautiful smell of Christmas spices because you'd made me some mulled apple juice with some spices and cinnamon, which was so nice and really warming as well. And then the Christmas tree was up. I'm just like, it is Christmas. This is really nice.
We decorated the tree, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is our tradition. And we still have a lot of our old Christmas decorations from probably about 7 or 8 years ago when we were we were in our make, do and mend era.
We were.
And we had
and also keep things on a low budget as well.
Yes, generally it's about that. And we got a whole load of acorns, a whole load of oak leaves and some googly eyes. And
little
red pom-poms, and then we've stuck the antlers, the oak leaves on as antlers onto the acorns, 2 googly eyes, red nose, and we have our reindeers. And somehow these are still lasting. Obviously the oak leaves are completely dried up. We've only got one red-nosed reindeer who's now a cyclops. But otherwise, they're all looking fairly intact.
They're looking really, really good. We've got some cute little ones, and then we got some sheep that we made just from kind of pom-poms of wool and
little twigs for the eyes. We used rounds of twigs for the eyes.
And then we did those really cute ones with some felt, and then very thin cuts of silver birch? Yeah, it was silver birch that we cut, so it's really
silver
pretty.
Birch into discs, and then we used various things from cotton wool to felt to make snowmen and Father Christmases and elves.
Yeah.
They're falling apart a bit more. But it's all very sentimental, isn't it? Because that was a happy time when you were carefree
Yeah.
to sit down and make Christmas decorations. But now
Exactly.
you're a bona fide teenager.
Bona
You
fide
don't
adult.
do that kind of thing anymore. Well, yeah. That's true.
Yeah, I'm an adult, apparently.
Well, talking of that mulled apple juice, that caused a bit of havoc for me.
For you.
Yes. You know
Nice
how
thought, though.
I have always said about getting itchy ears anytime I eat apples? And
Yes.
everyone kind of laughs at me and says, oh, you're sticking it in the wrong orifice.
Yeah,
And
people take the mickey out of you all the time.
And I felt so alone with this problem. I was so sure it was an allergic reaction. Anyway, after drinking that mulled apple juice, I thought, I'm going to look into this because I'm not feeling great. There's got to be something in this allergy theory of mine. Anyway, Sweet Pea, turns out that the most common fruit allergies involve apples, peaches, and kiwis. Kiwis I knew about.
Oh,
Apples
yeah, I
certainly
didn't know about
didn't.
kiwis. No.
And apparently it's linked to something called oral allergy syndrome, or OAS, which you can also get from birch pollen. And it causes mild mouth itching, and that itching can go up into the ear canal.
Tingling. Oh my gosh, that's really funny.
So this will explain why I have problems with apples.
So now you can just go to friends going, I've just got os, mate. Okay, I've just got os.
I haven't stuck it in the wrong orifice.
No. Fiewy.
Well, Sweet Pea, enough of apples and my allergies. I have a little bit of housekeeping from last week. Do you remember we saw the segment on Tom Cranham, who had his terraria and his amazing iridescent begonias?
Oh, yes.
Those beautiful plants. And a couple of times he said, these are unnamed and these are undescribed. And I was a bit confused as to what that was all about.
That. No.
Well, apparently this refers to species that have not yet been formally recognised and given a scientific name in a published scientific work. And botanists estimate that as many as 100,000 vascular plant species still await a formal description.
Oh my gosh, that's a bit like with Hobbs. We haven't fully understood what she is. One cannot. She's not a dog. No,
we're not sure.
She's like the cross between platypus,
snapping
tortoise, frog,
spatchcock, frog. Yep, she's certainly undescribed and unnamed.
Yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, that just gives you an idea. If you hear those two terms again, Sweet Pea, that's what it's referring to.
Okay, cool.
Another piece of housekeeping was you talked about the resurrection plant last week, and you quite rightly called it a spike moss, but I heard spike moss and then just related it to moss through the rest of what you were telling us about.
I think I did as well, yes.
Okay, so it's not a moss, it is a spike moss, which isn't the same thing, not part of the same family. Spike moss is related to ferns.
Oh, yes, which you can actually really see when the plant properly unfurls to its kind of properly resurrected stage.
Yes.
It truly has, they're going towards a conifery look, but it's definitely a ferny frond that you have.
Yeah, it did look very much like that. When I was looking for links to put on our website, there's this lovely YouTube video of it going from furled to unfurled.
Oh, that'll be just this satisfying time lapse to do.
It just looks like a dry dead thing, doesn't it?
No
chance of being alive, but it is.
I know, it's quite amazing.
And then just one final thing. Do you remember Alice Ward Thomas, who was on the show last week?
Yes.
And she had her beautiful garden. She had Jamie Butterworth with her.
Yes.
And she was talking about how she had received £5,000 from her godfather, so she was spending it entirely on the garden. And half of that budget went towards compost. And she said that for $2,500 she bought 70 cubic litres of compost. But she did get in contact last week and said that that was a slight typo, or
Linguo
speechio. It should have been 70 cubic meters.
Oh, of course. Cubic liters is really small.
That's a couple of bags of compost, really. Yeah. So that makes a lot more sense. Anyway.
That is fantastic. And yeah, that is a normal amount to be spending half $2,500 on that. Okay.
Very special compost.
Very special black gold. Wow.
So we have some No Way news.
Of course.
Now, usually I do the No Way news based around environmental stories, nature, animals,
Yeah.
plants, all those good things, everything to do with planet Earth, and usually good news stories, one or two bad news stories. But this isn't necessarily fitting into that category, but it's a story nonetheless I just wanted to share with you because it is the Swiss, and the Swiss can be so clever at times. Not that I'm biased.
I love how you're just trying to get in your Swiss facts about Switzerland. Undescribed.
Swiss fun facts. Well, you know how in the UK every single motorway has lines and lines of cones on it. You can't go on a motorway without there being conage.
It's ridiculous. Whoever has bought cones and is like distributing them is going to be
renting them
just
out
from the UK.
Can you imagine that? Fun fact, I do actually know the person who does dabble in cones. It was a very smart business decision he made in his 20s. And he built up a huge empire. Yeah, he was a millionaire by his 30s.
No, that's what I need to do.
You thought it was gold, but it's actually road cones. And so obviously when you've got the road cones out, you've got, 3-lane motorways reduced down to 1 lane. There's restricted speed limits. So it just disrupts everything. Nothing worse than when you're caught in rush hour or you're just on a Friday night wanting to get home from the office. Very, 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 very frustrating. So the good old Swiss have found a solution to that problem.
Of course they have.
They have created this mechanism, this huge contraption, which is essentially a large bridge with an on-ramp and an off-ramp. Mm-hmm. And what they do is they place this bridge over wherever they're doing roadwork. So it's the same width as the road. And they place it over where the workers are working on the road. And cars who are travelling along without really having to reduce their speed too much can go up onto this ramp off the other side with the workers underneath. So no disruption to the flow of traffic. Isn't that the most fantastic idea?
That's fabulous. That's amazing.
It's 257 metres long, and they can reposition it several times in one day where the work's taking place. So they basically can do a bit of work, pick it up, shunt it along, put it down, continue the work a bit further along.
Where do they store it?
Oh, gosh, that's such a good question.
Where are they storing this long thing?
On the side of the road.
Just like, we'll just shove it there for now.
Yeah.
Pick it up when needed.
But just fantastic. I love things like that. It's so innovative.
Yeah, fab.
All right, so back to something a bit more to do with the environment.
Yes.
Here's some oyster news.
Ooh, okay.
Now, about 250,000 native oysters have been released into the Humber estuary. So that's a major tidal estuary up on the northeast coast of the UK.
Okay.
It's 2 rivers joining. I can only remember one of them, which I think is the River Trent, and then that flows off into the North Sea.
Gotcha. I'm really bad at geography.
This is all part of the Wilder Humber project, and it's the first time that native oysters are being returned to local waters since the 1940s. So apparently the estuary was once home to huge oyster reefs covering more than 300 acres, but those have all died out because of overfishing, pollution, disease.
Oh, crikey. Okay.
So they're trying to reintroduce this. So what they do is they grow the oyster larvae, which are known as spats.
That's a cool name. Spat.
Those are grown in tanks on scallop shells, and then the shells are transferred into the Humber, into the intertidal zone. So that's the area between midway. High and low tide.
Yeah.
And then they're hopefully going to build up a reef again. And as we know, oysters are very good at filtering pollution. So that's going to have a positive impact on pollution along the estuary there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot that oysters do that. I kind of went through... I didn't really think much of oysters. I just thought, they're just oysters, and not a fan of eating them either. I don't think they're particularly nice to eat. But I forgot that they do a huge amount for polluted water. So that's fabulous. That's great.
Pretty useful little animals. So what a great piece of news to see that initiative taking place.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
As always with all these stories, I'll put a link on our website so you can read it in more detail. But that gives you a bit of a highlight, Soupy.
Yes.
Right. You've heard of amoebas, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Yes,
I've probably studied them in biology.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I have actually. It's quite a cool little thing.
A single-celled organism, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, there is a little amoeba called the fire amoeba It's been
cool.
found in the waters of California's Lassen Volcanic National Park, and they have just set a record for heat tolerance. So the newly named Incendia amoeba cascadensis, meaning fire amoeba from the Cascades,
Oh, yeah.
grows and divides. So it needs these temperatures to grow and divide.
Wow.
When it gets to 68 degrees Celsius. So that is, if you're in Fahrenheit, that's 145 degrees Fahrenheit. And that is the highest known temperature for a eukaryotic organism.
Yes, so with no nucleus.
Well, yeah, so you've probably studied all this at school and probably
back to
in what
front,
you're
upside
doing
down,
now.
inside out.
Right. And you probably, from when we've watched some of the Planet Earth or Blue Planet programs, you will have, there were those organisms that would be down by volcanic vents underwater.
Yeah, those I find incredible as well.
Yeah, and they just mooched around quite happily at 122 degrees.
They were loving it. They were like, oh, little jacuzzi.
Yeah, well, they are, although that is a higher temperature, that's 122 degrees centigrade, although that's a higher temperature, they're a simpler form. They're from a more primitive group of organisms called prokaryotes. Have you heard of those?
Yes. Oh, sorry. I've just realised that I got it mixed up. Eukaryotes have a nucleus. Prokaryotes don't have a nucleus.
Okay. Well, yeah, so the prokaryotes basically consist of just a cell membrane.
Yes.
And it's got
bacteria.
some rugged proteins and free-floating DNA in them.
Yeah.
Whereas, the eukaryotes, they're basically all organisms, right down from teeny tiny amoebas up to us humans.
Oh,
so they have a nucleus, they've got organelles, delicate internal membranes, and more complex genomes in their cells. So they're a lot more sensitive to their environment. So that's what makes it so incredibly impressive that they are thriving at those high temperatures. So incredible little creatures. Creatures.
They're amazing. Also, I like their name, a fire amoeba. Sounds like something from, I don't know. Oh, actually,
a Marvel
it sounds
film.
like something from Harry Potter, to be honest.
Oh, yes.
A fire amoeba. It could be one of the little creatures in there.
Now, I have some No Way news for you, which is going to blow your mind.
Okay,
you know that English ivy that I gave you that sits dead on the top shelf of your bookshelves in your apartment?
That's not blowing my mind. That's just called Sweet Pea not looking after her plants properly.
Blows my mind. But
oh my gosh,
well,
yes.
They are apparently the best plants to have in your bathroom. This is a really, really interesting paper that's been written by a Californian teenager who is called Ryan Kim.
Mm-hmm.
And he co-authored this paper with Hilary Spires Duran, who's a nurse practitioner and investigator at West Coast Clinical Trials. And they shared their experiment at the American College of Allergy, Asthma and Immunology in California.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And what they found was English ivy significantly reduces airborne mold and fecal matter particles.
Oh my gosh, well, that's very cool.
So over a 12-hour period, the plant eliminates approximately 78.5% of mold and over 94% of fecal matter.
Oh, this is fabulous. I need to get one of these in the bathroom then. That would be great.
You've got no natural light in your bathroom, have you? So
no. So that's going to be a problem then.
I don't think you get much mold in that bathroom either. And as for the other thing, well, only you know.
No, I'm very clean and tidy, thank you very much.
I'm sure you are. Well, the way they found this out was they set up mouldy bread and some canine feces in sealed containers. And they took measurements before and after putting in the ivy. And after 6 hours, the mold decreased by 60% and the fecal particles by 58%. And after 12 hours, that rose to reductions of 78% and 94% respectively.
Crikey, wow.
So according to Hilary Spires Duran, aerosolized proteins are actually absorbed through the roots and the soil of the plant. So with this in mind, with this new knowledge that they have around English ivy, they're actually looking into how this process could be a better and cheaper alternative to artificial air purifiers.
Oh my God, that would be brilliant than those synthetic things which possibly aren't very good for your lungs and stuff.
Well, those or, machinery. Expensive machinery that you need to purify air. So a really fascinating experiment with incredible results.
Brilliant.
So all we need to do, Sweet Pea, is learn how to notice any plants that sit above eye level in your apartment, because I think that's the issue. It was too high up. You just scan the room at eye level or below to water your plants. And the poor old ivy gets forgotten.
Oh my gosh. That might have happened.
Might have happened. Well, I mean, that was a plant fun fact in itself, but tell me your plant fun fact for this week.
Well, my plant fun fact is all about mangroves. These amazing
love
plants.
mangroves.
Yeah, they're really quite beautiful. They create kind of nice borders to coastlines, and I think they're rather amazing because they create such a habitat for certain species of kind of all sorts of species, that including other plants.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, one thing about them is that there are up to over 1,500 animal species and plant species which are completely and utterly dependent on mangroves.
Right.
And their environment. And that's including things like birds and fish, which use them, the shallows around the roots, as little nurseries for raising their young and looking after them.
Because their roots kind of drop down and create a cage almost.
It's
so
like
I know
basket.
that sharks will often put their young in there because baby sharks are, although we think sharks are scary,
little baby
ones need a safe place to go. Yeah. So sharks and rays will have their babies in there. It means big predators can't get in and shut them. But also, would that, what you just said about them, how they're all these plants and animals dependent on them, I guess that would make them a keystone species, a bit like the cassowary is a keystone species.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it does. But I feel like you really want everything is balanced. So it's all about keeping that balance. There's one thing which relies on something else, which there's always just everything relying on everything, and we always go and disrupt that balance of things. So
we're good at that, aren't we?
We're fabulous at that.
But surely we can find a better food source for birds, so we can just get rid of all the ticks in the world, because
that would be
like
good.
Those gone.
Not
or
sure
a
what
better option would be if we could somehow inoculate the ticks so that they can't carry things like Lyme's disease. Because I don't mind if one attaches to me. If I didn't think it was injecting me with some horrible disease.
Oh, I don't mind sharing a bit of my blood with other animals.
Share my blood.
Yeah, exactly. If
live and let live, man.
Disease, live and let live, man. Peace and love. Anyways,
peace and love.
So these mangroves, as you said, the roots kind of plunge into the water. They're kind of elevated out of the water, and this is one of their mechanisms because of course salt water isn't good for plants because it's dehydrating. The salt really dehydrates the plant. But mangroves are specialized living by the coastlines, and they're able to elevate as much of their roots and their trunks and their leaves out of the water, so that that's one way of them getting not so dehydrated.
Right.
And then the other fact that they're able to filter a huge amount, 90% of the salt they filter, so that only 10% they're really getting.
All right.
And then I know that there are some species of coastline plants which kind of excrete the salt from their leaves. And on the surface of their leaves, they kind of then have all these salt crystals.
Little salt crystals.
Which then
amazing.
Just stay there. So that's another way of getting rid of the excess salt. I
wonder if you could use them then to collect salt.
Yeah, I do wonder as well,
in the home.
That would be very interesting. But they're also amazing. I mean, they just do everything all at once. They're nurseries for animals. They get rid of the salt, and they're on the coastlines, which looks really pretty. Mm-hmm. And then also they're really getting rid of a huge amount of pollution in the water, because they're these filters. They really filter the water, and they make the water so much clearer, and they really improve the water quality. So they're quite incredible plants.
They're all rounders.
Yeah, they just do everything, and then they create beautiful coastlines at the same time.
I guess also they probably help with erosion as well, don't they?
Yeah,
You've got a bank
precisely.
of mangroves. I think they're wonderful plants. I have happy memories of mangroves and snorkeling around mangroves and seeing all the babies in there.
Yeah,
beautiful
exactly.
Plants.
Well,
that's a great fun fact.
Yeah, what is your animal fun fact?
Mine's a quick one.
Okay.
Do you remember how in some of your little kiddie books that I used to read to you when you were small enough to sit on my lap and I would read your nighttime stories. Oh my gosh. Those
Not
days
now.
have gone, Sweepy.
I'd break your legs. And you're shrinking.
We used to have some with sea life in them, so nice drawings and pictures of sea life, and you'd always see an electric eel, and it would be kind of depicted touching one of the other fish or animals, and you'd just see like a skeleton of the of the other animal as it gets electrocuted.
Yeah, exactly.
But other than that, you don't really hear much about electric eels, do you?
No, you don't.
I remember when I was little thinking, gosh, I've got to be careful of them electric eels out there. And I don't think I've ever come across one.
No, and then you just kind of forget that they even exist.
Well, they're not actually eels. They are more closely related to carp and catfish.
Just very
but it's just really, because of their elongation, we call them eels. But they can produce electric charges of up to 650 volts. And that, to put that in perspective, is more than 5 times the power of a standard wall socket.
I mean, come on now, as humans, we can't really do that much. We can't create electricity. We can't excrete salt. What I mean, we can sweat. That's one way of doing it.
But we lack serious skills. If all we've got to offer is that we can sweat some salt out now and then we really need to have a good hard look at ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, we can't run super fast. I mean, Usain Bolt can, but the rest of us, not that great.
If you're a human who happens to be Swiss, you can create amazing bridges that go over motorways to stop the backup of traffic on a Friday evening.
One thing I am thinking with the eels is that why can't we just plug in our phone charger to an eel?
We all had our own electric eel. Stick our phones into them.
No, but think about it. If we could somehow
I like your thinking.
Use the electricity from eels without harming them, don't go and do stupid things.
We could significantly reduce our utility bills, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Right. I shall look into that, Sweet Pea. Leave it with me.
Yes.
But before I get onto that, shall we have a look at this last of the winter specials for Gardener's World?
Absolutely.
Well, this is Gardener's World 2025 Winter Special Episode 4 Recap.
Off we go. So we're back with Monty at Longmeadow. It's really rather lovely day. Everyone's looking happy. There's even lovely pigeons cooing in the background of this.
That was such a lovely addition. I'm sure they didn't add it in. He's got plenty of bird life in his garden, but the sound of a pigeon, it was very lovely to hear. That sort of a kind of Christmas vibe to that, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a certain Christmas vibe. I haven't even seen Pijonajita lately. That's our pigeon, by the way.
That's our pigeon, Pijonajita.
She's Spanish.
We haven't seen her for a while, have we?
No.
And also,
haven't.
I felt on this episode, everyone seemed a lot more relaxed and a lot more upbeat.
Yeah.
It's almost like that end of term vibe where everyone's just excited about Christmas coming. So it's a bit more of a spring in everyone's step.
Yeah, I think everyone's just like, it is over. We can all just chill. It's the end of the season.
32 episodes.
32 episode.
We made it. Hooey.
And to celebrate, Monty is planting out a beautiful tray of cyclamen. 2 different types. You've got the hedropholium. Those are the ivy leaf ones, and then the coum as well. However, do not plant them in the same space because hedropholium are a little bit more vicious than the coum, so they will take over, and that isn't very good. But they do thrive in nice dry shade, so that's the perfect spot to be placing them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we see Frances Tophill, and she's looking at holly at RHS Rosemoor in Devon, where they have 140 specimens. And this blew my mind because I didn't know there were so many hollies in the world.
I know, I really didn't think that there were so much holly. I just kind of thought of holly as just a really bog standard plant.
Which is really beautiful in itself.
Yeah.
I think you're being a bit disparaging towards the bog standard holly. I think that's one of the most beautiful ones.
But to be honest, as Frances said, even the native one, which is the bog standard one, which I'd call it, the Ilex aquifolium is really rather beautiful, and this kind of bit kind of opened my eyes to that.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. Well, one of the biggest takeaways I had from this segment was the fact regarding male and female plants. in the holly family.
Yes.
And Frances says that only 5% of plants have the evolutionary quirk that creates separate males and females.
I know.
And I think we might come across another one of those a bit later on. But the other interesting thing was how, I mean, this has got to be a British thing. It's panto season after all.
It's got
so
British
the male
written all over
plants are called female names and the female plants have male names. Could that be more pantomime?
That, I mean, we're really in the Christmas spirit, as well as it being holly, the kind of Christmas thing.
I remember having your French friend over from France and taking her to her first ever panto and trying to explain to her parents in French what that was. And I was trying to explain, well, you see, so it's where the man dresses women and the women dresses men. And just these very blank looks as if, well, that's completely straightforward as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, it's obvious that's what happens.
It was really, a hard one when there's a language barrier.
I remember pantomime is my favourite thing about kind of the winter season. I think they're just the most hilarious, fun. They're just the best things ever. If you haven't been to a pantomime, you need to go to one.
Yeah.
Because my friend, she absolutely loved it. Even though she was, obviously there's the language barrier, she thought it was just the most brilliant thing ever.
Yeah.
Which
she was buzzing, wasn't she, after that?
Yeah. So to be honest, hollies are a whole load of pantomime characters.
Yes, they are, aren't they?
I'm on board with that. I mean, there were some names like Golden King, so obviously that's going to be a female plant.
Yep.
But that was really pretty. It had a beautiful kind of almost like a lick of golden colour around the rim of the leaves, so that was rather nice. I liked that one. There were some other ones that Frances rattled off. There was an Ilex Hodginsii. Those had really smooth leaves, so that was rather pretty. There was an Ilex crenata green hedger that had very small leaves, very small smooth leaves, but it was nice and tight if you clip it tightly, and can be like a box. You can have it going around the rim of your borders like
it's
a
box replacement.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a Japanese shrub, and she said it's very slow growing.
Yeah, very slow growing, unfortunately.
I would have had no idea that was holly if it slapped me in the face. I said I'm holly.
Want normal holly to slap you in the face, but that much sure.
This much is true.
And then there was another one which was another crenata, and that was a fastigiata, and that creates, of course, beautiful columns, upright and thin, still small, tight leaves, but that can be like a nice structure in the garden, going more upright.
Yes. And at the end, Frances says, perhaps after all, they are a little bit magic.
They sure are. Then we're back with Monts again, and he's talking about another holly, which is the Ilex aquifolium baciflava. And he says that this one has yellow berries because we saw that holly can have flowers on it, which is really pretty. That means it's the male plant, or berries, and that means it's the female plant.
That's right. That was the distinction, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And you can get lots of different colours of berries. So you can get the lovely red ones. You can get some really dark, almost purpley crimson colours. And then with this baciflava, you can get beautiful yellow berries. So it's not just a one colour plant. You can really work with it in your garden. So he was potting this up into a nice pot because he wanted it to kind of topiarize it. And this was obviously going to go in lovely sunshine, sunny area.
Yes. And I think the important point he made about it was always plant just below the surface so you can water it easier.
Exactly.
And then we head over to Shortgrove Manor Farm in Dunstable, which is Helen Barlow's place, and we see her extremely impressive national citrus collection.
Yeah.
And actually, on that point, I think the hollies were a national collection as well, weren't they?
Oh, yes.
So we've got two national collections for one in this episode.
I know.
And Helen rattles off what she has. She had oranges, calamundines, Buddha's hands, bergamots, grapefruits, limes, kumquats, macroots, citrons.
Yeah, she had it all. And then she said, that she's not a gardener. I was
Yeah.
like, excuse me, you have a lot of plants.
Yes, well, she did make that point. She's not a gardener at all, but she loves history. And in 2019, she went on a garden history tour all around Florence. And that's where she fell in love with citrus. And so she wanted to bring a little bit of Tuscany back home. So she bought a lemon tree and a lime tree, started there, and then her collection grew. And now she has over 220 of these plants. Now, of course, in Tuscany, you can leave them out, no problem. They've got the right climate. You're kind of fighting the elements in the UK. And so she spends a huge amount of her time wheeling these things in and out. So outside in the summer, back in the winter. They need to stay above 5 degrees, don't they?
Yeah.
Throughout the year.
So she had in this little, what did they call it? They called it a lemon...
Limonia.
That sounds like a disease.
It does, doesn't it?
Anyways, in this area where they would overwinter the plants, she also did have some grow lights in there, some heat lamps, which were just good just to keep the heat level correct.
Keep a constant.
Obviously, there's always that worry that it might just drop, and then the plants are like, "Oh, I'm gonna die."
Yeah, not happy about that.
They're quite.
We show ours in the greenhouse, don't we? We used to keep them inside, but the central heating knocked them for 6.
Yeah,
so we've started keeping them in the greenhouse, which probably does go below 5. Well, undoubtedly goes below 5 degrees.
Yeah,
but somehow they survive.
Absolutely fine. So
I wouldn't say absolutely fine. They look a bit ropey. No. But they're still alive.
They're not bad. But we have been told that they do... The reason why they really weren't liking being brought inside with the central heating was that they do like to feel a bit of a winter. It can't just be warm, because you can imagine for a plant, it's exhausting. It's like, oh my gosh, it's still warm. They need a little bit of a dormancy. So that is why the temperature is allowed to drop to 5 degrees for them. So they do need to feel that slight chill. Otherwise, the plants aren't going to be very happy. So some of the different ones that she talked about the lovely citron. Huge!
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
She said the size of a rugby ball.
Size of a rugby ball. And how it hasn't got a lot of flesh, but it's got a huge amount of kind of pith and rind on it. So it's mainly for making candied peel, I don't know, putting into cakes and stuff like that, which obviously I'm very happy with.
Not much juice. And the citron goes back 4,000 years, she said, originating from Southeast Asia.
Yeah, very, very old plant.
I think the citron is one of possibly the edibles that Wayne Williams from Ventnor Botanic Garden chose for his chit-chat with us.
Yes, that rings a bell. Absolutely. Then she talked about a bergamot as well. That is actually a citrus. I had no idea.
Did not know that.
To be honest, I didn't know. I didn't even ask myself where bergamot came from.
No, just didn't question it.
Bergamot. Then she talked about a macroot lime. And this is all about the leaves. So the leaves look like 2 leaves smashed together. It's like a small leaf and then a big leaf.
Right.
And they're kind of whacked together.
Oh, I didn't spot that.
In a series.
But she did say about crushing them, you get this sort of perfect Thai green curry flavour.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all about crushing those leaves. You can only really find the dried ones in the supermarkets, but having a fresh leaf crushed in your hand is quite something. Then she talked about her lime house as well. She's got a lime house specifically for limes. And how, I didn't know this, how they're yellow when they're ripe, not green.
Yes.
And how people only have them in shops green just because they're easier to transport when they're that colour.
Yeah.
Don't get so damaged and stuff like that. But how they don't ripen off the plant like a lot of different flowers,
like a pear, for example.
Like a pear as well.
Pear, I think Monty's recommended you pick it when it's unripe so that it ripens indoors.
Oh, yeah, so the pears are opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But doesn't that blow your mind? It shows what a sheltered world we live in when we're not out there foraging and living in amongst nature so much. That all we ever see is a lime at the supermarket and we associate it with being green. That's your classic lime. But actually, you've just got an unripe lime.
It's very sad. I mean, some of the limes that I've seen have gone slightly yellow, and I've always thought, oh no, is that over?
Right. Yeah, that's. I mean, they are over. You mean the ones we keep in the back of the fridge?
No, but like when I've got to some, they seem perfect. And when I squeeze it, I'm like, oh, that's really nice. But I've always just thought that they're going slightly over and they weren't like
Right.
properly ripe. Whereas
Right.
it's actually
They're
green
actually
is
the other way.
underripe, yellow is ripe, and then who knows what happens afterwards.
You've just reminded me of a lime top tip from an ex-boyfriend who liked his gin and tonics. And what he would do is he would have limes in the fridge, but if they looked like they were starting to get a bit ropey, he would slice them up and then freeze them sliced and then pop the frozen slices in his gin and tonic.
Oh, well, this is what ex-boyfriends are for.
They do have their uses.
Anyways, then she finally said that one of the best plants for beginners is calamondins. They're these little kind of oranges, very small oranges, very tart as well, but they're great for marmalade. So I was like, perfect. I love marmalade.
And also they flower and fruit all year round.
Yes, they do. And you can get like loads of calamondins on one plant, which is fabulous. It's very ornamental.
It's a rewarding plant. I'd rather like that actually.
Yeah.
Because I do, with our lemon tree, that gets more fruit than I think our other one's like a satsuma tree. Yeah, and these are in pots and they're quite small. But the lemon tree does produce fruit. And when it does, I just love the look of it on the tree that I'm reluctant to pick the lemons. But you have to, of course.
Yeah. It's like with chilies, which Monty actually talks about later.
Yes, that's true.
You've got to get the ripe ones off because then the plant's otherwise just...
My work
I'm trying to keep
done.
this one going, mate. Could you take it off at some point?
Just one point on citrus that is a very good point is when it comes to watering. She feeds with organic seaweed, but with watering, the important thing is to make sure that your pots are dry. So properly dry, let them get really quite parched before you then give them a thorough soaking. We've seen Monty do that as well, where he just empties a watering can on them. It seems half the water's out the bottom.
Yes. Watch it come out the bottom because your plants are most likely going to die from overwatering than underwatering.
That's it. Well, Helen's garden is open to the public through the NGS, which is great news. The next date they have on their page is the 14th of June. I'll put a link to it so you can find how to access Shortgrove Manor Farm.
Yes.
But there is more to it than just the lovely Tuscan courtyard that she seems to have set up there with all her citrus. It's a 6.5 acre garden and it's set in mature landscapes around a Grade 2 listed 15th century farmhouse, which isn't open to the public. Okay. And it's split into formal gardens. It's got a sunken garden with a pond. It's got rose-covered pergolas, terraces, fountains. So it sounds like it's, there's a lot more to see than just a citrus. It looks like a beautiful, beautiful garden.
I mean, just the citrus area that we did see and some kind of other very Tuscan looking bits, that already looked absolutely lovely. So I can imagine that the rest of the garden is just going to be stunning to walk around. Then we're back with Monty again. That pigeon is still there. The pigeon is just like, I'm going to stay with you guys to the end of time. And Monty was planting in a clematis. I think he's by the mound. Yes, he's on the mound. And he's got a clematis very much in the spirit of Christmas, which is called Sohosis Jingle Bells.
Yes.
And that's looking
pretty.
Fun. Yeah, really, really pretty plant because it has these gorgeous pale ivory flowers, very different from any other clematis I've seen.
Beautiful. And it flowers in January, he said.
Yes, exactly. Flowers in January. But the only downside to it is it's not super duper hot. It's kind of like -5 max kind of. I mean, it can do -10.
Not beyond -10. Yeah.
Not beyond -10. Also, if you can hear that noise behind me, that is the central heating going for it, which is really frustrating because either we can have a podcast but be freezing cold or have a podcast, be warm, but you're going to hear the heating going. So
we apologise for that loud thumping noise in the background.
At least it's very Christmassy because it's meaning we're nice and warm and cozy inside.
Yeah. It also means we've got dodgy pipes that need looking at.
Yes, it does. Anyways, of course, with clematis, you want to kind of create a bowl because they want to keep as much moisture as possible, have all that rainwater. And he also says about planting it with a leaf node below the soil, because then roots can come from that.
Yeah. And he was planting it along a fence, wasn't he, for the espalier pear, because he said it'll have flowered and done its business before the pears need the space, so they don't compete too much.
Yeah.
And then we have Arit Anderson, and she is at Old Park Barn, and she's visiting James and Emily Chua's garden in Buckinghamshire.
Yes.
This garden was amazing. It's like nothing I've really seen before with some of the elements to it. But it used to be a rough field, and they've transformed it into this beautiful garden. And what's been really important for James and Emily is that it is a place that they can work on together. And James really emphasizes about it being a slow garden, so there's no need to hurry. The plants need time to grow. He says the journey is just as important as the end product. And I liked this very mellow vibe to this garden.
I loved
works
it.
Well for me.
It was great because obviously it's a winter garden, which was really nice to see, because obviously it's nice seeing things that were kind of back in the summer, but it's slightly depressing because you're like, well, we're now in winter, so we can't really think about what happened back then.
Oh, sweetie.
But this was a lovely garden because it was really showing that the garden was not at all going dormant at this stage, and how everything is slowing down. So you can finally just go at the same pace as the garden, whereas so many say that kind of springtime, summertime, you're really kind of catching up with the garden. You're running
constantly
after it.
Catching up. Yes. That's a good description. And then Arit talks about the 3 S's that she's recognised in the play, in the garden.
Yes, exactly. So that is structure, stems, and scent. Yes. 3 S's, which are key to having a winter garden, a good winter garden, which really pops out. So in this garden, for example, the structure was things like osmanthus and rosemary. They were kind of nice shrubby plants. Then the stems, of course, were going to have things like bamboo, and they'd really stripped the leaves. Stripping the leaves, first of all, I think is really good because it's good for airflow, which of course is key with plants, which are kind of in like a clump. And then also just means you can see those beautiful stems if you have the Niagara, which are the nice black ones, or if you have the kind of more golden ones.
Ben Story, who was on one of our chit chats, with his beautiful garden on terraces in Clapham. It was a mid-terrace garden, and he had done all that work, hadn't he, to create this very steep garden but make it really usable. And in the dining part, which was nearest to the house, they had a bank of black-stemmed bamboo, and they'd done exactly the same, stripped all the leaves off. So it looked very architectural, and also it acted kind of as a sound muffler, didn't it? A bit of a sound barrier between them and their neighbours.
Yeah, it's really, really great. So I love that one, actually. I really like the black bamboo. Yeah. It's beautiful. And then finally, the scent was coming from things like Daphne, which they had planted really near to the house.
Good old Daphne.
Yeah, good old Daphne. And then Sarcococa as well is another one.
Yeah, and Winter Sweet, I think she mentioned too.
Yes.
And then further away from the house, I loved the wood-piled path. We've seen that before at Nigel Dunnett's garden, where you stack all these logs to create the barrier between the path and your beds.
Yeah.
And it just works so well, doesn't it? It's such a good use of logs if you've got a lot of trees that you're chopping up.
Yes, it's really good.
So it gives that kind of shape and a bank to the borders, and a great bug hotel as well. But it was extraordinary because then we're taken to what they call the engine room of the garden, where they had all the twigs, sticks, stones, all sorted by size and stacked together.
Sorted by size.
Absolutely amazing. How mindful that is.
So mindful. It reminds me of when we went through, I think, like 3 huge boxes of all my Lego, which was kind of the Lego from, it was your childhood Lego.
Yes.
Granddad's Lego. It was like Lego from everyone I had. And then I had them in these huge boxes because we'd moved. And then I had these multicolored drawers. Yeah. We decided to put all the different colours of Lego in all of the different coloured drawers.
Oh my gosh, that was a never-ending job.
Most satisfying thing, but that only lasts for about 3 weeks, and then suddenly you've got colours going everywhere.
Yes, those colours do go everywhere.
I wonder if that that stick pile ever gets a little bit out of hand.
No, I think judging by James and Emily, I think we can categorically say it stays as it is. And then, did you see that river of sticks?
Love the river of sticks. I really love this garden. There was such beauty and intricacy in the winter, and your eye was just kind of, you really had to look around to find all these little bits and bobs. And that river of sticks, that looks like meditation beyond belief.
Yeah. There's something so calming about it. It is a river of sticks. It flowed beautifully. It was so organic, and yet it was kind of this sculpture within the garden, this natural sculpture within the garden. It was really amazing. And then Arit shows us another art installation, essentially, that they've created.
Cones.
Those pine cones, which were put on the ends of wires and into a wooden plinth or bar.
Yes.
And it just looked like a work of art.
Yeah, and they were all at different heights, and so it just looked like a nice kind of shrubbery almost. It was just natural and nice. It wasn't kind of like, this is man-made. It wasn't in your face like that. And
really unique.
Really, really loved that.
Well, Emily and James's garden is also open through the NGS. Their next opening is the 20th of June. But something we didn't mention was earlier on in the segment, Arit explains that I think Emily explains that it's actually got a public footpath through the garden.
I know, which I thought
I'm slightly uncomfortable about, but
yeah, I'm not sure how happy I'd be just random people walking past going, all right, have a nice cup of tea.
But I guess you can therefore visit it going on a bit of a ramble in the countryside around there, or through the NGS. And Emily and James are both on Instagram, so if you want to see more photos and beautiful photos of the garden, get more of a feel for all the parts that we didn't quite see on the show, then follow them on Instagram. James's account is called A Zen Gardener, and Emily's account is called Optimistic Gardener.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I already thought they were the perfect pair, but Zen and optimism together, just, that's perfect. Then we're back with Monty again, and he's talking all about don't be too tidy. Whenever he says this line, I'm like, I'm with you, sir.
Roger that, Monty.
Roger that, Monty. On board with that. And he just says about how, for example, his grass borders he's not cutting back until far later in the season. This is good for kind of animals and birds and insects as well. Great for them just to kind of scurry in and nestle down.
All the wildlife.
But also I think it's quite good for the plant because it's quite good to do it after the frosty snap. And then they kind of, the green shoots come up, it stresses them slightly less. So that's always good.
And then we're with the wonderful Toby Buckland. I'm so glad we get to see him one last time, because we haven't seen much of him this series, have we?
No, we haven't, but he's just a delight. Absolutely love him.
I love Toby's presenting style. He's full of energy, isn't he? And he was at Will Young's garden. Will has a new garden. We've seen him on Garden as well before. I seem to remember he was on during COVID times and he was doing pots with Toby. And they were having a pot off, weren't they?
I also remember he did one where I think he was at his parents' garden, I think it was, at one point.
Oh, was he?
I remember that one. I definitely remember seeing him before, but yes.
Yeah. Well, he's got this new 2-acre plot, and it's very exciting because it's undiscovered.
Oh my gosh, it's like a secret garden again.
A secret garden. We see a bit of a drone shot, but it was quite hard, really. I think because everything was so beautifully overgrown, it was quite hard to figure out what was what and where was what. But it seems that it's got these garden rooms, and Will is like uncovering all sorts of things in his secret garden. And even to the extent that Toby said he felt a little bit jealous as he hasn't had a new project for a while. And you could see that Toby was chomping at the bit to get stuck in, wasn't he?
He really was. And then Will Young was just like, well, mate, I really need some work.
Yes.
Some help with all of this. So
welcome.
Let's get stuck
welcome
in
to the
this.
chaos. Will has found through his excavations, he's got a lot of fruit trees, hasn't he? He had quinces, figs, apples, crab apples.
Yeah, exactly. There seems to be like an old orchard there. Something like that.
Yeah.
Seems quite amazing. But also there were some perennial sunflowers, which Toby saw. Do be careful of those because they can slightly go for it.
Oh, can they?
So, well, yeah, ours are kind of, they've taken over a whole bed pretty much.
Oh. Are those perennial sunflowers?
Yeah, they're the same ones.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good for some, not good for others.
Okay. Yeah.
But I do think that Will's beautiful dogs stole the show. They were absolutely
Gorgeous
stunning.
dog.
Yeah, and I know that there's been some complaints there's too much emphasis on dogs on Gardener's World for those who don't love dogs, which is unimaginable to me because who doesn't love dogs? But,
Sorry.
as I've said before, live and let live, so each their own. But there was that big fellow, that big soppy white dog with black spots.
Oh my gosh, he was gorgeous. Those eyes,
big soppy eyes,
colourings, just a really beautiful dog.
Yeah, he was laying it on thick, much like Hobbs does. Wrapped around
like this little baby potato.
Little finger. And then Toby gets involved, starting with taking off his jacket, and there's this very sweet bonding moment between Toby and Will as they admire each other's matching check shirts. It's like when two women turn up at an event and bump into each other and the ladies and they go, "Oh my God, I love your dress, I love your dress."
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's so like that. They were really sweet. And then they were digging up the turf because Will was trying to create like a circular bed area, but he needed to get rid of the turf. And then Toby gave a fantastic top tip, which we'll be using for when we have to dig up those turf areas to create some borders. About once you've got this turf, you don't really know what you're doing with it. The best way of composting it and then getting really nice loamy soil is by putting stacking the turf with the grass bits facing each other and the turf bits facing each other.
The soil bits facing each other.
Yeah, exactly. Soil bits facing each other. And then stacking that up high, and then that creates a really nice loamy soil that you can then dress the top of your beds with.
Yeah, lovely idea. And then they wander through a grapevine and look at a huge patch of brambles, which and Will is wanting to get rid of the brambles, which is the opposite of what we're wanting to do. We're wanting to create
give us the brambles,
hedge.
Please.
Yeah, give them to us, Will. And Toby says to keep on top of them, basically want to just keep cutting them back before they drop their berries, and then you'll slowly get rid of them. But also, he said that particular time when he was visiting Will was a good time for pulling them up because there had been drought. So the soil sort of shrinks away from the roots during drought, and then there's just been some rain. And if you catch them after that set of circumstances, they're then really easy to pull up because the rain sort of lubricates the roots as well. So
Precisely.
you can just pull them out.
Yes, nice and easy. And then they were also going over to the ivy smothered wall that they had. And Will really didn't know how to get rid of all of this ivy. And the wall was really kind of cracked. What do you call it when the
render sort of blows?
The render had burst from all sorts, just getting old and from kind of cold and wet.
Yeah.
And so the ivy was really digging in there and that wall was going to crumble at some point. So it was good to get some of the ivy off.
Oh, don't say that because we have some walls smothered in ivy and
our walls are different.
I worry about them crumbling.
We're not going to worry about that right now.
Okay. We will.
But anyways, Toby gave a great, really efficient way of doing it other than just kind of ripping it out or just cutting the bottom because it can look really messy. He just got the shovel and slid it behind the ivy, between the wall and the ivy, cut it through, just really kind of straight down like a bread knife. And got it all off. And it came off really easily. Yeah, it was fantastic. So that is a top tip from Toby again.
Well, they had a good day's work and they head off for a cuppa and Will emphasises there's no cake. And
I'm not coming.
That was you ducking out of that, wasn't it? Because if there's no cake, you're not
it's
interested.
Almost as if I was veering off with them, and then he goes, "No cake," and I'm like, "Okay, goodbye."
Okay.
And I just leave.
Well, do you want some Will Young fun facts?
Absolutely, yes.
Not all gardening related.
No.
Will Young was the winner of ITV's Pop Idol in 2002, and I remember voting for him. It was the first and only time Nigel and I voted for anyone.
Really?
Just because we thought he had the most incredible voice. It was such a unique voice. And there were a lot of sort of boy bandy type voices I seem to remember that he was competing against. And then Will had this soulful voice with depth in it. So, and Pop Idol was, I think, the precursor to X Factor. I think they then changed the name to X Factor.
Okie dokes.
Anyway, I think that's how it went. I don't follow them that closely.
Wow, so you voted for him all
I
the way
did.
back then?
I voted for Will. And his debut double A-side single, Anything Is Possible and Evergreen, remains the fastest selling debut single in UK chart history.
Chart history? Sheesh
Gosh,
kebabs,
Will,
that's
who
amazing.
knew? He's released 9 studio albums, 4 of which reached number 1 in the UK albums charts. And, you probably didn't know this, he was on Strictly Come Dancing in 2016.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
But due to, he suffers with agoraphobia. And
what is that again?
that's where you're kind of you struggle with open spaces. I think it's the opposite of claustrophobia. I think it's kind of the other end of that. Like,
crikey,
could and probably am wrong. So he was getting intense anxiety attacks. Unfortunately, he had to bow out, which must have been awful. But listen to this fun fact about Will. He did a tour, not for his music, but of dog rescue centres around the UK, and he donated £50,000 in dog food to them. Isn't that lovely?
Oh, that's lovely. Now that's a good tour.
And just on that, he is also the co-founder of a dog food company called Miraculous Meals, which he set up in 2023. And the company donates 50% of its profits to rescue centres, because he had done quite a few interviews on the problem we have in the UK with dog rescue centres. During COVID, there was a lot of breeding going on. Also, I know
a dog.
I know in my personal circle of friends, a lot of people are like, well, we should get a dog. So they have a dog for the duration of lockdown, and then they go back to the office, and what do they do with the dog? Do with it. So a lot of them were being put into rescue centres, and a lot being euthanized, a lot being put down every year.
That's so unfair.
And that big white soppy fellow, that is Domino. And Domino...
good name.
Was an hour from being euthanized himself before Will rescued him. Oh
my God, that's heartbreaking.
It is. And look at that beautiful dog. Thank goodness his life was
going to be euthanized.
Yeah, so Will moved back from LA to Wiltshire, where he could have a bit more space for all his doggies. And this is why he's ended up where he is. Anyway, on the gardening front, a bit of gardening stuff about Will.
Yeah, of course.
Apparently, everyone in Will's family is into gardening. So he says his sister's a gardener, his mum is a garden designer, and then he says, and his dad is great with the veg patch. So,
all right, he can just do that bit.
All the youngs involved in gardens.
Then we are with Monty again, and he's showing off the incredible, very, very nice chilies that he has after the season. I was super jealous, but
so many chilies. He says about how you can freeze them, but and so he has a freezer drawer out on the table outside to emphasize just how many chilies he's been successful with. But then he says once you defrost them, they must be eaten immediately. So the next thing, he ducks off screen to go and put his freezer drawer away.
The freezer seemed to be very close. I don't know if that's just good editing, but the freezer was very, very close. But of course, the other way of having them is drying them. You can either kind of dry them on string like you would onions and just kind of leave them out, or put them on a windowsill. He does say that you can slightly, on a really, really low heat, put them in the oven, but you want to be careful not to cook them.
So that's essentially what a dehydrator is. It's a very, very low, long heat.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so he does use a dehydrator himself. He said that it's one of the best things that he has is this dehydrator, and he uses it for everything, and especially chilies. So he had some chilies that he'd done a few days prior, and he was just smashing those up in a pestle mortar to make lovely, nice chili flakes that he said you can then put in a jar, give away to family members, and that can store for a really, really long time.
Years and years, he said. He also said you could put them in a coffee grinder or a herb grinder.
Exactly.
It reminds me that Delia from Hone Hill Dreaming inspired us to dust off our dehydrator, and have got it out ready actually for this winter. So we're going to get drying of all sorts of things. Everything and anything is going to get dehydrated, Sweet Pea.
Everything. All the water sucked out of it.
Yes, sucking all the life out of everything in the kitchen. And then we go with lovely Rachel de Thame to her garden, and she's making some containers to have near the door, some festive containers. And this was such a lovely segment to end on because it was so festive. I felt
I
so in the
know.
Christmas mood after this. And it was lit perfectly. It
It
gave that nice sort
was.
of cold, it gets dark so early, doesn't it? But it gave that
It
sort
really
of
does, yeah.
cold late afternoon darkness. But
Mm.
it just felt good. It was
It
like a
was
warm Christmas hug.
they planned it perfectly to put it right at the end of this
Mm-hmm.
episode, as you said. Just
Yeah.
it was so nice and toasty and Christmassy and loads of fairy lights, and I immediately thought of Nick Mesa loving his fairy lights as well. So
Yes. Oh,
he
Nick.
would love this.
Nick, who didn't know he liked fairy lights until very recently.
Yes, exactly.
But Rachel was carrying a beautiful little red teapot as a container
That was
and
really cute.
pops that on her doorstep with pansies in it, I think it was. And then she has a lovely enamel basin where she's drilled some holes in it in the bottom. And then she fills it with compost mixed with grit. And then she's putting in a beautiful plethora of plants.
Yes, so in this pot she was putting things like skimia that had beautiful dark kind of burgundy seed flower heads. Couldn't quite tell what they were.
Well, just on that, so I said earlier with the hollies, the male
Yes.
and female plants, I think this is another one of those 5% that Francis talks about that has a male and a female form.
Yes, exactly. There was also then an Erica, and that was kind of more greens, slightly more kind of low, bushy like, and that filled the other half. And then she was putting in and around things like a juga, she was splitting that up.
Mm-hmm.
And also cyclamen hedrophonium with beautiful white flowers.
Yes. And then there was a shot of a little saxifraga, which I thought was absolutely stunning, wasn't it?
It was really, really cute. And all the flowers and seed heads were gone. So it was purely just the rosettes of leaves underneath.
So tight and so beautiful. It looked like in perfect condition. It looked like a fake plant, really. It was so perfect in its shape.
And then Rachel was creating a living wreath because, as she said, she's very good at thrifting. So she had this kind of wreath shape, but seemed to have like a small little basket cup bit where she
it was like a metal frame, wasn't it?
Yeah,
with a bit of a basin or a channel in the bottom of it.
Exactly. So obviously the channel had quite big holes to it, so she had to put in a kind of base, and she had some wool in there, so she was putting that in first, then a nice kind of gritty compost in, and then she was putting in some of the leftover ajuga that she had, also some violas, some ivy, which were just clippings of ivy that she was just tangling in there, weaving in and out to kind of dangle.
Provided some dangle, she said.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, fairy lights.
Yes, it really surprised me that I liked the fairy lights, but I suppose it's no different to when we're putting fairy lights on some of our plants, some of our indoor plants even.
Yeah.
Put fairy lights on. But it finished it off perfectly. It was almost like something was missing, and then that went on, and it was spot on. Really
It was
pretty.
spot on. And then she kind of showed the display by her door plate, her door frame, her door place.
Front door.
What do you call it, that kind of alcove that you have by a door?
Front door porch?
Porch, that kind of porch area.
Right.
That's the word I was looking for. And she had all these different plants. So she had little pots, she had a little table, some on the steps, then a beautiful kind of crab apple, the Donald Wyman, and that was kind of creeping upwards. So that was the height. And I really thought to myself, this is such a beautiful Christmas, homely. It was kind of sparkly, but it wasn't over the top. It was just kind of homely and friendly. I thought, if I was a carol singer, I'm going to that door. That is not going to be a serial killer.
So poor Rachel's going to be inundated with carol singers.
Hopefully she likes singing.
Thankfully, no serial killers harmed in the making of this segment. But it did look like something from a children's book, didn't it? I absolutely loved it.
It was stunning. And then finally we were back with Monty again, and he's doing some pots with some tulips in. And these are some slightly later flowering ones. And there were two types, El Nino and Queen of Night, both beautiful rich colours. So Queen of Night is a nice kind of burgundy, dark crimson, almost black. It's an almost black, it's not black. and then El Nino is kind of like more fiery colours.
Yeah, and he said they can flower as late as May, even if there's been a cold spring.
Yeah, exactly. So really nice for that later season.
We also get that rogue camera operator who has been harassing Frances on previous episodes, where he or she is lying on their belly and filming Frances up her nose, and they went for Monty. So Monty's this most unflattering of camera angles. I have no idea why this was a choice. Maybe it's just to shake it all up a little. So Monty's talking down to the ground.
Yes. It's very, very funny.
But at least it's not just poor Frances suffering the wrath of this camera operator. And that, as they say, is that.
That is that.
That's the last episode. So, Sweet Pea, what was your favourite plant from this final winter special episode?
Oh, I'm going to be naughty, but it's Christmas. I couldn't choose just one. I chose all the citrus plants because all citrus are fabulous. I wish I could grow them like you can in Tuscany.
Yes.
But I just don't think I have the patience to be growing them in miserable old England. So
no,
unfortunately, it's not going to quite work. But I love the plants. They're fabulous plants.
They are beautiful.
What is yours?
I think it has to be Rachel Saxifraga. I thought it was just so pretty. It was understated, gorgeous. And we only got to see it briefly, but it really struck a chord. Loved
it was
that.
Very, very nice.
What's your top takeaway from this episode?
Just having a river of sticks and also an engine room.
Good idea. Yes,
because just
you want to sort twigs.
Just that mindfulness, that space, whether it's for sorting something or just for yourself. I think that's great, especially in the winter months. I think it's a perfect thing to have at this time of year.
Yeah.
So,
I wish I'd chosen something from James and Emily's garden now, because it was full of all sorts of wonders, wasn't it? But I've gone with the holly facts. I was really intrigued by this.
Yeah, they were great.
The male and female plants, the 5% of plants that have that evolutionary quirk. And also, of course, I loved that there's the tradition of male plants being named female names.
They are pure pantomime plants. I definitely will say that I now really enjoy looking at holly plants or thinking
a new
about
respect for them.
A new respect for them, because I really didn't think much of them beforehand.
No.
And now, I respect them. They're cool plants.
Great stuff. Well, that's the end of this episode. If you want to get in touch about anything that we've talked about, then here's how.
If you have any questions, feedback or comments, you can get in touch with us on our contact page at notjustagarden.co.uk or via our email, which is notjustagarden@outlook.com, or you can even find us on Facebook or Instagram and come visit us there and hit the follow button. And if you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world if you could post a 5-star review. It really helps our podcast climb up the pile. If you didn't enjoy it, bigger polls from us, and please don't. For more Sweet Pea and Bear content, including videos, blogs, guest garden lists, early access to episodes, podcast outtakes, which are great, and community chats, come join us on our Patreon. You can find a link on our website.
So normally we'd be talking about next week. We don't have any more Gardeners Worlds, but we are going to have some little shorter ones, just really because we're enjoying the No Way news. It's interesting hearing what's going on in the world, especially in the sort of world of nature.
Yeah,
and all things plant and animal. And also any clever Swiss inventions. We'll get through that.
We're going to have to make you a section called the Swiss sections.
Yeah. Oh, your grandmother would be so chuffed.
Oh,
but
she would.
We don't know how long they're going to be. They will be each week. And please do tune in with us if you want to have a bit of a laugh with us about those things. It'll be fairly unstructured. And we will also have 1 or 2 fun facts about Gardener's World, about the people involved in Gardener's World, a few behind the scenes as well as we go through.
Yes.
Gardener's World itself, I think, will be back around mid-March. It's usually mid-March that they start up again. I expect they'll have their compilation episodes through January or February or both, I'm not sure. And there'll be compilations of everything that's happened this last series.
Yes.
So if you need your Gardener's World fix, it's not long before they're back on our screen.
Not too long.
Well, Sweetie Pie, it's not long before Christmas.
Oh my gosh.
We are on the very home straight, aren't we? We have a lot of cooking to do. Get ready for family and friends.
Salmon and croûte.
Salmon and croûte. And lots of yummy veg that have been frozen from the garden. We're going to enjoy
exactly.
those.
Leeks and beans all from the garden.
Oh, yummy. Can't wait. That's my favourite part of the meal.
It is the best part. And then the leftovers that you can have on Boxing Day. That's amazing.
Yes. Well, let's not carry on talking about food.
No, sorry.
So we wish you a very, very happy Christmas to you all and to your families, and a healthy one. And here's to a happy and healthy 2026.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye, Sweet Pea.
Bye, Mummy Bear.